This is Dane Shoemaker. Welcome to the Shoemaker Lab. I'm joined here today with Derek Rodner of Uplink Studios. Derek, how are you today?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, good. Chief Gaming Officer and owner, correct?
Chief Gaming Officer, owner, chief bottle washer. I do the toilets, sweep, everything.
Excellent. As is the entrepreneur that do everything. So tell us a little bit about Uplink Studios.
So Uplink is, we currently have 2 locations. Our whole mission was built on the idea of not only making better gamers, but better humans.
Okay.
And so what we do is we are a primarily youth-focused esports training center, as well as a family entertainment center that offers all sorts of sort of next-generation entertainment, golf simulators, racing simulators.
Yeah.
You see our arena here. We do lots of private events and karaoke parties and all sorts of different things. So kind of like a local community esports and family entertainment center.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a fabulous space here in King of Prussia, Wayne area. Your other locations in, where is that?
Ludwig's Corner. So it's at the intersection of 401 and 100, Chester Springs, Glenmore, that area.
Okay, got it. And you established that location. That was first.
Yes, that was what we called our proof of concept. That was prove that parents were willing to spend money for their kids to play a video game they could play in their basement.
Yeah.
So we started that. The timing was fantastic on that. We started that in February of 2020. We sold out our first league in 8 days. We were well on our way and got a week and a half into practice and had to shut down due to COVID. So timing was impeccable.
Right. So tell us about, everything that you offer here. What are the programs? What are some things that you can do here?
Yeah, certainly. So we're open to the public basically all day, every day. So you can come in and you can just rent a PC for $10 an hour, or book the golf simulators, come in and golf. And we're a BYO facility as well. So bring a beer with you and play around a golf with your friends. We also have racing simulators, same types of setups that Max Verstappen would use if you're a Formula One guy. Wow. And so you can come in and race and play with your buddies. But that's sort of our hourly model, which is what I consider sort of the icing on the cake from a business standpoint. Primarily, we offer programs that are more repeatable and have value add beyond just playing on a gaming PC. So for youth, we focus on esports leagues. As I mentioned, we do 3 different leagues right now. Rocket League, which is RC cars playing soccer, basically is the easy way to describe it. Overwatch, which is a 5-person, first-person shooter, but very team-focused game. And Valorant, which just came out in August of 2020, which is a first-person shooter as well, but a much different type of game than, say, an Overwatch would be. So we do youth leagues. We have after-school clubs. We're a STEM-accredited facility. So we we do Minecraft Mondays. We have Fortnite Wednesdays, and then we do chess clubs and Lego STEM clubs, where we learn to build things as well as code around this Lego STEM program that we have, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And then we do summer camps and birthday parties. And for the adults, we have adult leagues for racing and golf. We do birthday parties, corporate events. This whole room that we're in right now we call our esports arena, which if you can see behind, right now is configured for a gaming tournament. Right. So we have 5 PCs on either side, and what you see on the screens right now is just filler that during a game you would see the screen of each competitor up there, as well as we have a camera on them. So you see their faces, because their faces are kind of hidden by the screens. Yeah. And you get to see sort of the facial reactions and the excitement in their faces, and sometimes the disappointment as well, right? But we can reconfigure this room. We've had a live band on stage. We have karaoke setups that we can do. We have a trivia setup, so we've done trivia for corporate events. So this is sort of a multi-purpose room, can be used kind of for anything. And our goal is to fill it all the time. Yeah,
and it's outfitted with pretty state-of-the-art technology, good sound, good lighting, good video. I mean, you could broadcast from here.
Yes.
Essentially, you can live stream.
It didn't start with great audio. When we moved in, it was cavernous. And so we had to go in and add some foam to the ceilings to sort of make the sound a little better. But we do have a full production setup in the back. We have a 32 matrix switch for video, so I can put video anywhere in the entire space, however we want to configure it, which is really cool. And then we've got a professional audio and lighting system as well here. So we can do anything from here, and that room back there also enables us to take any of that and live stream it. So we live stream our games for our youth leagues, which is great. our goal is not to become these big Twitch powerhouse or a streaming powerhouse, but it's more about kids today like to play video games. If you're a parent, you go watch your kid play soccer, you go watch them play baseball. Why not watch them play video games? It's what they're passionate about. So we encourage the parents to come. Usually they're all filling this arena and set up, but you have, aunts and uncles and grandparents that live far away or can't be here in person. And so we live stream so that the rest of their family and friends can watch as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Are you a gamer yourself? How did you kind of get into this world, the esports?
I don't know if I'd call myself a gamer per se. I always had a game that I was playing, if you would. I mean, but as I get older, it was Tiger Woods for a while. But so this all came about. I've worked in venture-backed startups for most of my career.
Okay.
And this is a bit of a long story, but so as my last startup, I ran product strategy, corporate strategy, marketing. Okay. As that company was sort of reaching its end, we sold that company in 21. I was looking for something new to do.
Yeah.
But granted, I'm at a position in my life where I'm not getting any younger, right? I'm 52 years old now, and I wanted to do something that might have some positive impact on the world. Designing and selling software is great. It's awesome. But at the end of the day, what impact are you really having on the world, except for maybe on some corporation's bottom line?
Right.
And so I started looking for something that I could do next where there could be some sort of impact. My oldest daughter went to school for environmental studies, so she's very much into the environment, and I, am as well. And I started looking in that space, and just there wasn't anything there that I guess called to me or where I felt I could add value. At the same time, my middle daughter was playing travel soccer, and that's a bit of an aside. I'll come back to that in a second. And my young son at the time was playing Fortnite, and he got me to play Fortnite with him. And that's how this ball got rolling. We played a lot of Fortnite together. And then we started to follow. Philadelphia had a professional Overwatch team called the Philly Fusion. Yeah. And so we started watching them. And that's when I started realizing that there was this whole world of competitive video gaming out there that was at the professional level, moved to the college level, and was now starting to infiltrate the high schools. And today it's down at the middle school level.
Yeah, just incredible.
It is amazing how much it's grown.
Yeah.
But there was no Little League for video gaming. So kids play in their bedrooms or in their basements, and they're potentially watching streamers, as my son was, who were dropping F-bombs, and he's 11 years old. I'm like, no, you can't be watching that guy. And he was starting to develop some toxic traits. Nothing bad, but just things that I wouldn't want him saying.
Yeah.
And he would only do it when he was on a headset with his best friend, not when they were sitting shoulder to shoulder. I'm like, there's a whole different model here. When you're shoulder to shoulder, playing with each other or against each other, you act a lot differently than when you're on a headset and you're anonymous per se, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a statement that could be made about all of social media today,
absolutely.
right?
You have keyboard warriors, there's things that people say, with everything. That,
and
that you wouldn't say in person.
That you'd never say in person,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I was looking at that going, wow, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a Little League for these kids to learn the right way to play these games and to learn those soft skills that'll take them through life that they're not getting if they're not playing on a sports team. So sportsmanship, teamwork, leadership, respect, all of those soft skills that they need to learn, in addition to learning the right way, just to put their fingers on the keyboard and the mouse to play the game. So that's how this all started.
Yeah.
Going back to my daughter, my middle daughter for a second, she's playing on these travel teams for soccer. And there was a different organization all over. I think there were 8 different organizations just in our little area. Mm-hmm. And they would jump from organization to organization, depending on where their friends were going or what soccer organization was, in favor this week, the flavor of the week.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, if we could build a community gaming center where we could be Little League, we could be the local youth association and the travel team all in one, and do that in all the communities. You don't need to have all these different facilities out there or these different companies. We could do all of it.
Right.
And so that's how this model came about.
Okay.
And that was off to the races.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What were some kind of early challenges, and so you had the proof of concept location in Chester Springs, and you had this one. What were some early learnings from opening up that facility, and then what did you learn to kind of implement here?
Yeah. So, there's so much, but I think one of the funniest things was the beginning, the the very start of the process. You know, I came up with this concept, and I talked to my wife at the time, and she was like, "That's horrible," right? Like that was her. Like, why would we do that? I don't want him playing video games. And then she thought about it a little more and came back and goes, "Okay, I did some research. This could be something. And if anybody's going to do it, you're the guy. You're a geek. You play some video games. You know, you're a startup guy." But because of that, and because of my friend base, who I talked to and used as sort of a focus group and sat down with, they're all Gen X, and we didn't grow up on video games. Yeah, there was Atari for a while, and there was ColecoVision and stuff like that. But by the time video game consoles came out and became prevalent, it was the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah.
We were sort of in high school and beyond at that point, college actually. And so we didn't grow up with video games. So when I did our first information night to prospective customers, I had pages of objection handling, of education I needed to do. And for the Gen X parents, sure, there was something there, right?
Yeah.
For example, people probably don't know that last year there was $50 million in esports scholarships available at the college level. Over 300 schools now have esports programs, even locally. Immaculata's got a program, St. Joe's has a program, Villanova's building out an entire facility for esports.
Is that right? Wow.
It's big. And so for Gen X parents, I had to go through all of that. But that next generation down, the parents who grew up with NES, there was no objection handling. They were like, where was this when I was a kid? That was their perspective of the whole thing. So,
pretty cool.
So I found that it was a much easier sell to the younger parents out of the gate. And so that was a learning that I think was a positive learning for us. A negative side, obviously, was COVID. That just, put a wrench in things. But, and I think we're still, in many ways, recovering from that because we had investors ready to go to invest, and they disappear. They, hey, prove the model and we'll invest. COVID hit and they are long gone. So it took us a long time to find the right investors to invest in us, to believe in what we're doing and understand that. I mean, if you look at, just look at the software space today, right? And look at venture capital in general. They're all looking for the next unicorn, right? That $1 billion business. And all of the folks that I know in the venture community that I've worked with for years are all in that same space. They're looking for a SaaS, software as a service application, or an app or something. AI, right? It was big data, now it's AI, whatever the buzzword of the week is.
Right.
This is a whole different thing, right? This is definitely not a unicorn from that standpoint. This is bricks and mortar. And so it's a different type of investor. They understand the social impact that we're trying to create. And they understand that there is a need for places like this, for kids, for adults. And so that's been a challenge for us, was trying to figure out, what type of investor we really wanted, a partner that was going to help us grow this business. So I think that was key for us. But, there's still things we don't have figured out even here, right? So we've been open since May. Our other location has been at capacity for 2 years and continues to be. We just launched our new season, our fall season of youth leagues at the other location yesterday. And here we're delaying those because we don't have enough kids yet for the league. So it's kind of different as we go from a proof of concept and in a space where I was already a known entity, I guess, in that local community to here where we're not known. And so we're sort of starting all over again, trying to build that base up and build that model up. And we're growing. It's just not growing as fast as I want. And so that's probably the way it works with every startup, right?
Sure.
It's just always takes longer than you expect.
Yeah. Would you say the business is seasonal a little bit, with like summertime versus wintertime?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's why, and that's one of the reasons why we brought in sort of the golf simulators as part of the business, right? One, I have parents that at the other location that come in and their kids are practicing, and during practice, because we run a esports league like a sport. We practice twice a week. We have games on weekends. Parents come in and some drop their kids off, but others come in and just sit there and play on their phones or on their laptops. I'm like, there's a captive audience here for them to be doing something else. And that's why we brought in the racing simulators and the golf simulators. So while your kid's practicing, go play around the golf, right? But it is very much a seasonal thing. The summer camps, June to end of August, that's, we have 30 kids a week in here for summer camps, and each week's a different game or focus for us.
Yeah.
So they're always different every week. So we that's a big business for us. And then in the wintertime, golf simulators will be the big business for us.
Right.
Spring and fall, that's where esports picks up. So yeah, it's very much a seasonal business, has been at the other location. And that's why here with the golf simulators, we believe that will help sort of balance that out a little bit, where summer camps are high and during the wintertime, we're a little slower. Golf simulators will help sort of balance that out, so we don't have that sort of peaks and valleys.
Got it. Okay. That's great. I see you're wearing the Extra Life shirt and you're rocking your chop hat. Tell us a little bit about the philanthropy work that you guys do.
So, part of making better gamers and better humans is, I believe, service to others. And so we were looking for something where we could sort of stay in our niche, which is video gaming, and do something for others. And around here, CHOP is an integral part of our community. I personally have been lucky enough that I never had a child have to go to CHOP. But so many of our customers, the kids that we work with, have been to CHOP or are continuing to go to CHOP. If not, it's a family member or a friend. Like, everybody knows somebody who's at CHOP. And so when I learned about Extra Life is a program that's part of Children's Miracle Network. Okay. Extra Life is focused on gaming. It's a little hard to see, but that's a controller there, and you've got some dice, and they focus on gaming. And so for me, that was a perfect opportunity for these kids to do something to raise money for Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and learn about service to others and learn about giving back to the community, right? Yeah. And so we started our first year. We did a 24-hour gaming event in January. We charge $10 an hour, and every penny we make that day goes right into Extra Life, right to CHOP. Okay. And we also, at the same time, do a 24-hour race for charity. So in our racing simulators, that week in iRacing is the 24 Hours of Daytona race. Right. And so the first year we had one team of 4 of us, and we raced for 24 hours straight. I did 6 hours in the chair. This year we actually had 2 teams. So I had to do 8 hours in a chair because we had a team of 3, which is exciting and fun and tiring all at the same time. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah. So our first year, our goal was $2,000. Let's see if we can raise $2,000. We're open for 24 hours straight. The kids come in and game all through the night. Not for 24 hours, right? Everything in moderation. But we had parents that were coming at 2 a.m. because their kids wanted to be there from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. and come and do 4 hours of gaming. And so that's how we started this whole thing. Our first year, $2,000 goal, we hit $5,000. I cried. I do that a lot. The second year, I was like, wow, if we can do 5, we can do 10. And that's when we started to expand, and kids started to raise money through Extra Life from their friends and family as well, right? Asking their grandparents and their aunts and uncles. And we brought in a couple of business sponsors as well. Okay. And we did 15,000. That year, we got invited to participate in the Extra Life United tournament, which is an esports tournament that happens last year, or this past year it was in Kansas City, the year before it was in Orlando. And so we brought a bunch of kids down, and we competed at Extra Life to win more money for our local hospital. And last year we won $8,000 there. So last year we ended up at like $23,000, $24,000 raised for Children's Hospital. Amazing. This year I set an audacious goal of $20,000. Again, this place wasn't here. We have just our proof of concept, 18 PCs, 2,000 square feet, small location. Yeah. And we beat the $20,000, which was phenomenal. And then we went to Extra Life and raised another $12,000 or $13,000. So, we're over $60,000 in 3 years in terms of money for CHOP. And, CHOP has a fair amount of money, but the money we raise goes to like child life services. Okay. So things like making sure that they have game consoles and books, and making sure that parents have a place to stay if they have to stay overnight. Is there accommodations for them? It's all those things that quality of life, right? You want kids to if they're stuck in a hospital for a long time, they need a way to find joy and to thrive in that environment where it's not very. Yeah. It's not a great environment. And so that's the money we raise goes towards those child life services, which is phenomenal. Yeah. And so now that we have 2 locations, we're hoping that we can start to expand that and raise even more.
So you talked a little bit about some of the objections, right, that you get from parents and things like that. What are some common questions that you get from questions, from parents today? Maybe if their kids asking about it, or maybe their kids playing it, playing video games at home, and maybe they're thinking about, maybe I need to get them outside or something like that. Yeah,
absolutely. So look, we believe everything in moderation. Like if you do summer camp here and you're an all-day camp, it's 8 hours. We run a camp 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. during the summer. You're lucky if the kid gets 4 hours on the PC.
Okay.
We go outside and play gaga ball. We do cornhole. We do walks. We do nature things. And every day of camp, there's a different educational component. So it's digital citizenship, it's online safety, careers in video games, because every kid wants to be a streamer or a gamer today, right? That's what they want to do. Their hero is no longer Michael Jordan and LeBron James. It's Ninja and, you name it. It's some streamer that I'm even losing touch with these days.
Yeah.
That's who they look up to these days. And so we try to teach them about other careers around gaming and streaming that, something like this as an example, right? Where you can still be involved in the world that you want to be involved in, but not necessarily, go for it. Go for the brass ring, right? Go for being a streamer, go for being a pro gamer, but have a fallback. And here's some of the things you can do. So that's some of the stuff that even parents ask about. Why would I do this? Why would I pay money for my kid to play a video game here? And it's, for a number of reasons. One is, there's scholarships available, right? $50 million in scholarships is nothing to sneeze at. And that number continues to grow every year. So if you think your child has that capability, and I'm not guaranteeing any kid's going to get a scholarship, but at least, give them the proper training to give them a shot at that scholarship, right?
Yeah.
I think it's 56% of kids that play video games in high school pursue a STEM degree, which is pretty cool. We need more STEM graduates out there, and girls who game are 3 times as likely to pursue a degree in STEM than girls who don't. Wow. So there's, definitely academic and educational benefits to video gaming, right? But there's also a bunch of kids out there that don't play sports. Where are they going to learn sportsmanship? Where are they going to learn teamwork? It's not on a headset alone in their bedroom. They're not going to learn any good skills that way. Right. So it's being here in person, and it's a whole different vibe in this room when there's a game going. The parents, we do play-by-play for all the games, and we do it at a parent level, right? We're not doing it at the pro level where they're, rattling off all these stats and calling picks and all this stuff that parents are like, tell me what's going on in the game. Help me understand enough so that I can cheer. And that's what we do. And by the 3rd game of the season, they're on the edge of their seats. They're cheering. In Rocket League, Rocket League's a little easier, right? Ball goes in the goal, it's a score. Everybody knows that. But in Overwatch, one of the games is called Payload, and they have to stay on the payload to move it through the map. And you'll hear parents yelling, "Get on the payload," because the kids forget and they run away from it. And it's like, get on the payload. It's really exciting. And so part of it is, look, parents, we agree that it's not all video games all the time, right? There's got to be more to it than that.
Right.
And but with our player code of conduct and with the soft skills that they can learn, this is an opportunity, an outlet for them to pursue something that they're passionate about, and for you as a parent to be a part of it. To come and cheer on your kid and watch them thrive and grow and see the thrill of victory on their faces or the agony of defeat. It's just they're only young for so long. So come support what their passions are and be a part of it and join that excitement. Yeah.
Now you mentioned the player code of conduct.
Yes.
Tell us a little about that.
So I think that, if you look at any youth sport, right, there's a player code of conduct, and a lot of them have a code of conduct for adults as well, right? As a parent, what can you do and what you can't do on the sideline, which is necessary, right? We don't have that issue here, by the way. Like, parents are just struggling to know what's going on with the game, and there's no referee, right? The game is the game, so there's no ref for them to yell at. Nobody's yelling at the ref in esports.
Takes all that out.
It takes all of that out of it, right? But the player code of conduct is all about focusing on, helping each other up, lifting each other up, not being toxic, right? So working as a team and self-regulating. That's one of the coolest things I've seen at Uplink is that the kids on a team, if something starts going south and a kid starts to sway a little bit towards toxicity or whatever, they'll you hear them all at once go, player code, and they self-correct, right? And kids are kids. It's not 100% all the time, right? Kids, we all have kids.
Yeah.
They try our patience and test us whenever they can, but it's 99% of the time these kids are really doing the right thing when it comes to video games. They're not toxic. They're helping each other. To see the older kids helping the younger kids on the same team is just, it's really cool to see how these kids become mentors without even knowing the term mentor, right? And helping the younger kids out. And ironically, in some cases, it's the younger kids helping the older kids, because with video games, it's, all about your experience and skill level.
Right.
It's not as much about age, and it's certainly not about gender, which is the other part I love about this. I think that in esports, one of the reasons the NCAA has not adopted esports as a game or as a sport for them is because you have to have an offering for men and women. That's part of NCAA's charter, right?
Right.
So there are other organizations at the collegiate level that do esports, but a lot of girls are not gaming today, not in competitive environments, because it can be such a toxic environment. And we're trying to break that cycle, one kid at a time, right? Yeah. One kid, one team at a time. We've got 50, 60 kids in our leagues at the other location this season. And every one of those kids is learning not to be toxic, learning to have good sportsmanship, learning the leadership, learning to listen, right? Learning to listen and know what to do in a game when you have a team leader, and following what he says or she says can mean the difference in winning and losing. And so they're learning to fit in that, whatever role it is that they have on that team, which is really cool to see.
Yeah. And those are critical skills. I mean, it's just, that's amazing. I remember growing up. So going back to kind of that parenting, like I grew up late 90s, early 2000s. We had, what was it? EverQuest. Remember? Do you remember
EverQuest,
that? Yeah. Diablo 2. I never really graduated from Nintendo 64 into gaming. So I haven't been up on esports and everything, but like, obviously this is a very big business. There's scholarships, there's professional level gaming now. I mean, where do you see esports going over the next 10, 15 years? Do you see it being more integrated into schools? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. So I think that, professional esports has gone through what I would call a bit of a winter the last couple of years.
Oh, okay.
The professional scene kind of in many different games kind of imploded on itself and is being reborn again. I think they went too big too fast, and they thought that the model was all about advertising, right?
Okay.
BMW invested something like $1 billion in esports on all these different teams and all these different leagues. And what do you get to show for that, right? If you don't show return on your investment, it's not going to survive. So at the professional level, it's being sort of rethought and reborn right now for a lot of these different games, but you're seeing it start to come back up again.
Okay.
What is thriving is the college level. The university level esports is just thriving, and that's having a long tail of dragging high school esports, and now even middle school esports is coming along. You're going to see, the professional space sort of grow again. It will, its first instantiation wasn't the right business model. And it's got to be a business model, right? So you're going to see that get reborn. But you're going to see VR and AR, the virtual reality and augmented reality, I think take a bigger front seat in video gaming as we go forward, right? Right now it's sort of, a lot of kids have an Oculus and they do some VR stuff, but you're going to see that, I think, in the next 10 years get much bigger. What I think is really interesting, if you take sort of video games and set aside the esports for a second, just video games in general, there's been this buzz for the last couple of years about the metaverse, right? If you saw Ready Player One or read the book, and the book is so much better, it is the metaverse. It's where you get up in the morning and you put on your goggles and you live in this world, essentially.
Right.
We're not going to get to that stage that you see in Ready Player One, but there are a lot of companies pushing down this path of the metaverse. Two of them that come to mind for me are Epic Games and Roblox. So Epic Games is heading down this path with these islands. So their first island was the Battle Royale, right? And that was 100 players drop in and fight to the death. And if you lose, you get kicked back to the lobby and you drop in again on the battle bus. Well, now they've added new islands. So they started off with an island that was all about entertainment. They would do live concerts in Fortnite on this one island. Now they have built an island that's all about Rocket League. So it's rocket racing. So that's an island all about car racing. So that you can go there if you love car racing and do that. They have Legos, a Lego island. So you're building bricks. It's like Minecraft, but it's the Lego version in Fortnite. They have a huge partnership and investment from Disney where they're building Disney worlds that are going to start showing up now. So you're starting to see all these different reasons to come to Fortnite. right? It's not just a battle royale now. Now there's all these different reasons. And so they're collecting more and more. It's a long-term vision that when they have a princess island, I mean, you know, you're going to have every girl on that princess island all the time dressing up to be Ariel and Beauty and all, like, there's just so many, and there's stories to go with it. It's just going to be amazing. The other one is Roblox. So Roblox is a platform. It's not a game, it's a platform. And people build games in Roblox.
Okay.
And so what Roblox wants to do is, because they have all of these different games in there, some are educational. So they want to build a metaverse where your education happens, your child's education happens inside Roblox. That you put on the headset and now you're in a Roblox world and you're learning about math and addition and it's gamification of math, right? As an example. But it's going to go beyond that. It's going to be where you want to go see the Battle of Gettysburg, right? Today, we're not too far from Gettysburg. We get in the car, we take a class trip out to Gettysburg, and you see it, right? And you get to see where people stood and where the battles happened, and it's visceral, right?
Right.
How cool is that going to be when you put on a VR mask and that battle's happening 360 degrees around you? Like you're in the battle, witnessing it. It's going to be a whole different experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're headed with video games. Esports will continue, and it will continue to grow, and there's going to be new games that come out that will then rise to the top, and others will fall down in favor as time goes on, right? It's not like football where the game is the game. There's all different games. And I think that will continue to grow. I think you'll get to a point again where you're going to see arenas in cities for esports like that. This is a regional one. Call this a regional arena, but you'll see bigger ones again.
They were talking about building one out by the stadiums.
They
Philly,
were.
right?
So that was
Beyond gaming
pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Comcast owned the Philadelphia Fusion, and they were going to build the Fusion Arena right down where all the rest of the parks are, or the ballparks are, right? And that I believe they actually broke ground, and COVID happened, and that kind of pushed the whole Overwatch season. It was off the first year, and then what they did is they moved the whole thing to, I believe it was China, and they moved and put everybody just in one location, right? So everybody was in a pod basically, and they played 2 seasons like that, and that sort of was part of the reason why Overwatch eventually imploded, because you took all these teams from the U.S. and put them over there, and everybody kind of lost interest, right? The Philly Fusion, you had DC had a team, New York had teams, Dallas, Spitfire, LA, San Francisco, Toronto. What was cool about the Overwatch League, though, is it was based off of sort of the city model, like the NFL, where cities had teams, but they were all around the world. Seoul Dynasty and Toronto, I forget what their team was. Like Paris Eternal, there were teams all over the world, which was really cool from a city. From a standpoint of like city pride and stuff, right? We went and saw a game. They had some games here. They did the Battle of Brotherly Love. It was awesome. But that whole thing, the pricing model of that whole thing hurt that. And then when they moved the whole thing to Asia, that hurt even more.
So you think that'll come back eventually, that model?
Yeah, whether it's Overwatch or a different game, I think that model is going to come back. I think that there's got to be a better way of doing it, a different financial model that will make that successful. But I absolutely think that'll be back. Right now, most of the esports teams are what you would call corporate teams. They're not associated with a city. You've got Cloud9 Gaming, and you've got all these different teams that are owned by a corporation. FaZe is a prime example, right? FaZe Clan, who had teams in all different games. FaZe blew up. I mean, that was a case study in how not to run a business. They were a marketing machine more than anything else. Right. But you see all of these other teams that are corporate owned. I think we'll get back to eventually a place where there are city-based teams, which I think will be really exciting and bring in a broader population into the game.
And do you see, I mean, just because the nature of video games change, I mean, new games are coming out all the time, right? I mean, you have, unlike baseball and NFL, and the sports haven't changed in hundreds of years, right? But you have Overwatch, and I'm not familiar with that, but you had other games like, I don't know, World of Warcraft and things that come and go. How do you establish a league around a game, and then 10 years later, is that game still relevant, or
It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, if you look at Rocket League came out in 2016. And it's just as popular, if not more so, today. Right? It's the simplicity of the game to play it, but to master that game is super challenging, right? So I think that's what lends itself to being an esport. One, it's team-based games, right?
Yeah.
Team-based games where there's a clear objective in winner and loser, I think is part of that. League of Legends is another one. Now, we don't play League of Legends here with kids yet. Okay. It's something I keep looking at, but the League of Legends world is really toxic publicly. Okay. And it's a game where, like the games we focus on require teamwork, and it requires a team effort to win a game. If you don't play as a team, you're not going to win the game, right? Yeah. League of Legends has situations where a single player can mess up and that ruins the game for them, or a single player does something really good and that wins the game for them, right? So teamwork's important, but a single player can have a dramatic impact. Not so in the games that we play. Okay. But Rocket League, back to your question, it's been around forever. League of Legends has been around forever. Overwatch has had its ups and downs. Valorant just came out 2 years ago, and it just piqued everyone's interest. And now you've got the VCT, which is the Valorant Championships tournament, and esports leagues around that, and that continues to grow and get bigger. On the flip side, Halo was a game that I loved to play. I had my first Xbox I got because of Halo. Yeah. Loved to play that game. They came out with a new version called Halo Infinite, and it had an esports component to it, 4v4 in different game modes, and I loved it. We built a league here at our other location. It was an adult-child league, right? So it was parent-child type stuff that we did just to get the adults involved again, and I loved it. Yeah. My son did not. It's too boring. It's too, and I'm like, okay. And he was right if you look at it from a broader perspective, right? That Halo started off great when it came out for an esport, and now it's kind of just bumping along, right? Yeah. And so there are new games coming out all the time that are piquing interest, and some of them are party games. I mean, there's games on your phone that you can play esports tournaments on, right? Yeah. Fall Guys is a great party game. That's a great family game. There's tournaments around that. So you can make a tournament out of anything. It's whether it's going to become that next big game. And I don't think anybody's really cracked the code yet on that.
Yeah, I would imagine these manufacturers, Blizzard and Microsoft, like they're probably building a game in mind with esports in mind, right?
Right.
Like, hey, we're betting that this might be a big hit in 5 years or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the money today for esports is really at that community level, I think, or the self-organized level, right? Like there are leagues, there are big leagues that are out there. Rainbow Six has them. Valorant has a pretty successful one. But most of them, I think, are grassroots, right? Fortnite actually has a huge tournament mode that they play. Yeah. But yeah, I think that most of that it's got to have grassroots. It's got to come from the community to build up to create that league. You can't just launch a game and say, okay, now we've got a big global, esports league. You have to let it have that groundswell. Kind of
happen organically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Well, this is fun. I mean, let's bring it back to Uplink here. Yeah. I mean, what's your vision for the future for the business?
So I think that in the short term, obviously getting this place firing on all cylinders. That's our focus right now. Let's get this firing on all cylinders. But in longer term, I'd like to have, 25 locations up and down the East Coast. I think that's a good start. Yeah. But I could envision hundreds of locations eventually. That's really where we're headed with this. Each location it's a community focus, right? It's not the old style LAN center where you just pack as many PCs in as you can, and every space, nook and cranny has a PC in it. We want to be a place where people want to come and hang out. Mm-hmm. So where parents come and their kids play video games on Friday night and they're golfing over here, and so they have date night and family night all at the same time. Like, that's what we want to be. We want to be a part of the community, and I think that we can do that all up and down the East Coast, and then let's go tackle the rest of the country. Yeah, sounds good. I mean, this place definitely lends itself to, I could see my wife and I or a group of friends, doing some golf, or my boys are 3 and 5, so they're not quite into video games yet. Not yet. They're on the tablets, but someday maybe they'll be in here playing. Excellent. I hope so.
Stuff. Yeah. Well, this is a lot of fun. It's really nice meeting you, and
nice meeting you too. Yeah, this is great. I really enjoyed this. Yeah. As you can tell, I'm never at a loss for words.
That's good. Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening today. Shoemaker Lab is an original production by Shoemaker Films, LLC. If you enjoyed today's content, please consider subscribing on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your content. Follow us on Instagram at shoemaker.films. And if you're a business that's either interested in our video production services or would like to be a guest on the show, get in touch by using the contact form on our website, shoemakerfilms.com.